September 12th, 1958, 11:47 p.m. Big Sam's hand trembled as he tightened his grip on the cold steel. $50,000. That was the bounty the five families had placed on Bumpy Johnson's head. And Sam? He wasn't just a hired gun. He was Bumpy's shadow for 5 years, the man Bumpy called brother, and he had just taken the contract. The plan was dead simple. Walk into Lenox Lounge. Wait for Bumpy's guard to drop. Put one bullet in the back of his skull. Fade into the night. Sam walked in. There was Bumpy at his usual table. Back turned, exposed. Sam drew his piece, leveled it, and squeezed the trigger. Click. Nothing. The silence was deafening. Bumpy turned slowly, locked eyes with Sam, and dropped 5 words that would become legend. I've been counting on you. But here's what the history books won't tell you. Bumpy Johnson had known about the hit for 3 weeks, and what he did during that time didn't just save his life. It rewrote the rules of power in Harlem forever. To really grasp what went down that night at the Lenox Lounge, you have to understand who Bumpy Johnson was in 1958. He wasn't just another gangster. He was Harlem's guardian, the only thing standing between his community and the wolves waiting to tear it apart. By the late 50s, Harlem was under siege. The Italian mob, specifically the five families, had been trying to hijack the neighborhood's numbers racket for years. The numbers game was a gold mine. Poor folks betting nickels and dimes that stacked up to millions. And the Italians? They wanted every single penny. But they had a problem named Bumpy Johnson. See, Bumpy had built something the Italians couldn't comprehend. He didn't rule by fear alone. He ruled through respect. When families couldn't make rent, Bumpy covered it. When the cops harassed black businesses, Bumpy made the calls that made the heat go away. When Italian wise guys tried to muscle in on local spots, Bumpy pushed back, hard. The five families had tried everything in the book. They sent muscle. Bumpy sent them back in body bags. They tried negotiating. Bumpy told them Harlem wasn't for sale. They even tried buying off politicians. Didn't matter. Bumpy's connections ran deeper. By 1958, the families were getting desperate. And desperate men make dangerous moves. Frank Costello, the biggest boss in New York, called a sit-down. All five families sent their top guys. The agenda? The Bumpy Johnson problem. We've tried force, Costello said. We've tried cash. We've tried politics. Costello's voice was ice cold. Nothing sticks. The man is untouchable. So what's the play? Carlo Gambino lit a cigar and asked for ideas. Costello leaned in. We make him touchable. We find the one person he trusts with his life, and we turn him. That's when the name dropped. Big Sam. Samuel Big Sam Foster had been riding with Bumpy since 1953. 6'4", 260 pounds of pure muscle and loyalty. He'd taken bullets for Bumpy twice. He was there when Bumpy buried his mother. He'd stood by Bumpy's side through the wars with Dutch Schultz's old crew. Through the raids, through it all. If anyone could get close enough to put Bumpy down, it was Big Sam. The family sent Tony the collector to make the pitch. Tony was a specialist. He wasn't a bone breaker, he was a head shrinker. He found weaknesses, and every man has a weakness. August 20th, 1958, 3 weeks before the hit. Big Sam was stepping out of his apartment on 132nd Street when a black Cadillac rolled up. The window slid down. Tony Marone sat in the back, grinning like a shark in a suit. Sam, right? Big Sam, heard a lot about you. Sam's hand instinctively drifted to the .45 tucked in his waistband. Who's asking? A friend, Tony said. Someone who wants to make you a very rich man. He patted the empty seat. 5 minutes. Just hear me out. You don't like what I have to say, you walk. No hard feelings. Sam should have walked away right then and there. But curiosity? That's a killer. He got in. Tony didn't dance around it. You're a smart guy, Sam. You know the score. You're loyal to Bumpy, and that's sweet, really. But loyalty doesn't pay your daughter's medical bills, does it? Sam's jaw clenched. His youngest, Keisha, had been fighting tuberculosis for 6 months. The treatments were bleeding him dry. The hospital bills were a mountain he couldn't climb. Sam had asked Bumpy for help, and Bumpy gave him $2,000, but it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Tony popped the latch on a briefcase. Inside sat neat stacks of $100 bills. $50,000. That's the offer. Enough to wipe out every bill you have. Enough to move your family somewhere safe. Somewhere with clean air where your little girl can breathe. For what? Sam asked, though he already felt the weight of the answer. One bullet. One moment. You walk into Lenox Lounge on September 12th. Bumpy will be there, just like he is every Friday. You wait for his guard to drop. One shot to the back of the head. Quick, clean, and then you're a ghost. We've got a car waiting, new IDs for the whole family. By morning, you're in Miami. By next week, you're a whole new man. Sam stared at the cash. 50 grand. His daughter's life, his family's future. All for one squeeze of a trigger. And if I say no? Sam whispered. Tony's smile vanished. Then your daughter dies a slow, painful death in that charity ward. Then you keep working for Bumpy, watching your back, knowing that one day a bullet with your name on it is coming anyway. Because that's how this life ends, Sam. You know it. I know it. The only question is whether you die poor or rich. Sam got out of the car without a word, but he took the briefcase. Tony had left it on the seat, the money visible, tempting, impossible to ignore. That night, Sam couldn't sleep. All he could see was his daughter's face, her chest heaving for air, the way she tried to be brave through the pain. He kept seeing that briefcase, enough money to save her, enough money to buy them a real life. 3 days later, Sam made the call. He dialed the number Tony gave him. I'm in, Sam said, but I want the cash up front. Half now, half after. Done, Tony replied. Welcome to the winning side. But here's what Big Sam didn't know, and what Tony didn't know. Before Sam even stepped foot in that Cadillac, Bumpy Johnson already knew the play. Bumpy Johnson didn't become the king of Harlem by trusting people. He became king by knowing people, by understanding that every man has a price tag. Every man has a breaking point, and every man can be bought. Bumpy had eyes on every corner. Bartenders, shoeshine boys, cabbies, janitors, the invisible people, the ones the Italian mob never thought to look at twice. And one of them, a parking attendant named Jerome, had watched Tony Marone's Cadillac pull up to Sam's place. He saw Sam get in. He jotted down the plate number. 2 hours later, Jerome was standing in Bumpy's office above Small's Paradise Jazz Club. Tony Marone's car, Jerome murmured, sliding a grainy photograph across the polished mahogany desk. Spotted parked right outside Big Sam's place this morning. Sam got in, clocked 5 minutes, then got out. Bumpy studied the photo, his expression unreadable, before shifting his gaze to Jerome. You sure it was Marone? Dead sure. I've seen the guy around. He's the bagman for the Italian joints over on the east side. Bumpy remained silent, the air in the room growing heavy. Finally, he slid open his drawer, counted out $500, and pushed the cash toward Jerome. You didn't see a thing. You weren't even there. We clear? Crystal, Mr. Johnson. Jerome took the money and vanished. Bumpy sat alone in the dim light for 2 hours, just thinking. Sam had been his shadow for 5 years. Good years. Loyal years. They had survived trench warfare on these streets together. Bumpy had trusted the man with his life. But now, the Italians were whispering in Sam's ear. And if Bumpy knew one thing about desperate men, it was this. They made catastrophic choices. He could have clipped Sam right then and there. One phone call, and Big Sam would be nothing more than a floater in the East River. That's the standard play. Eliminate the threat. Turn the page. But Bumpy Johnson wasn't a standard man. For the next 3 weeks, he watched Sam like a hawk. He noticed the slight tremor in Sam's hands. He saw the haunted look in his eyes. He saw a man being torn apart by an impossible choice: loyalty or survival. So, Bumpy made a call. He wouldn't kill Sam. He was going to school him. Bumpy reached out to a gunsmith in Brooklyn, an old pro named Victor who'd been tweaking hardware for him for 15 years. "I need a favor, Vic," Bumpy said, his voice low. "I need you to build me a gun that doesn't shoot." Victor blinked, wiping grease from his hands. "You want a broken piece?" "No, I want a weapon that looks perfect, feels perfect, but when you squeeze the trigger, nothing happens. No bang, no firing pin strike, just a click. You want a prop? I want a very convincing lie. Can you handle it?" Victor could. In 3 days, he handed over a modified .38 Special. It was a dead ringer for Sam's service weapon. Same weight, same balance, but completely impotent. Now came the tricky part. Precision timing. Bumpy had to switch Sam's live iron for the dummy without the big man getting wise. That meant hitting Sam's apartment while it was empty. On September 8th, 4 days before the hit was scheduled, Bumpy sent Sam on a fool's errand across the city. "I need you to grab a package from a contact in the Bronx. It's critical, Sam. Don't come back without it." That trip would chew up at least 3 hours, more than enough time. The moment Sam was clear, Bumpy and his right-hand man, Illinois Gordon, slipped into Sam's place. They found the piece in a shoebox under the bed, exactly where Bumpy knew it lived. They made the switch. Victor's dummy gun nestled into the box, and Sam would never know the difference. Now, the waiting game began. Bumpy had to let Sam make his play. Confronting him now would be useless. Sam would deny it, the Italians would find another pawn, and the wheel would keep turning. No. Bumpy needed Sam to pull that trigger. He needed him to commit to the sin. And in that moment of ultimate betrayal, Bumpy would drop the hammer. Not just on Sam, but on everyone in the room. All of Harlem, the 5 families. The message had to be absolute. You can't kill Bumpy Johnson because Bumpy Johnson is always 3 moves ahead. September 12th, 1958, 11:47 at night. The Lenox Lounge. The joint was jumping. 300 souls. Musicians, hustlers, suits, and politicians. Friday night in Harlem meant jazz, cognac, and deals that would shape the neighborhood for decades. Bumpy held court at his usual corner table, flanked by 2 councilmen discussing a new housing project in Sugar Hill. He looked the part. Impeccable gray suit, trademark fedora resting near an untouched glass of Hennessy. Big Sam had rolled in at 11:30. He'd been drinking. Just enough to steel his nerves, not enough to stumble. Heavy in his jacket pocket was the .38 Special, the gun he'd carried for 5 years, the gun he thought was his ticket to $50,000. Sam lurked near the bar, eyes darting, sweating. Bumpy's back was to him. He looked distracted, vulnerable. At 11:47, Sam made his move. He cut through the crowd, hand buried in his jacket, fingers white-knuckling the grip. No one batted an eye. Sam was always close to the boss. He was the shield. His presence was part of the furniture. Sam closed the distance. 6 feet, 4 feet, 2. He drew the weapon. The bartender caught the motion first. His eyes went wide, mouth opening to scream, but Sam was too fast. He leveled the barrel at the back of Bumpy's skull and squeezed the trigger. Click. That dry metallic snap hit the room like a thunderclap. The band cut out mid-swing. The chatter died instantly. 300 heads snapped toward Big Sam, standing there with a useless hunk of metal in his trembling hand. Bumpy Johnson didn't even flinch. He just took a slow, deliberate sip of his cognac. Gently, he set the glass down and swiveled his chair around. He looked at Sam, just looked at him. And in that gaze, Sam found something far worse than rage. It was pity. "I was counting on you, Sam," Bumpy said, his voice barely a whisper, yet deafening in the silence. Those words hit harder than lead. Sam froze. He understood. Bumpy knew. He had known the whole time. The meeting with Tony Marone, the 50 grand, the setup, all of it. And instead of a quick death, instead of a watery grave, Bumpy had let him walk into this trap. He let him pull the trigger in front of 300 witnesses. He let Sam destroy his own name, his own honor, in front of the people who mattered most. The gun clattered to the floor. Sam's legs turned to water. He collapsed to his knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry, boss. My daughter, she's sick." "I know about your daughter." Bumpy cut him off. His tone remained calm, carrying effortlessly across the hushed room. "I've known for 6 months. You think I don't look out for my own?" Bumpy reached into his suit pocket and produced a thick envelope. He tossed it onto the table. "Kesha's medical bills, paid in full as of this morning. And there's a check in there for $5,000 to keep your family afloat." Sam's eyes spilled over. "But Allah, why? Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I had to see," Bumpy said, cold as ice. "I needed to know if you'd choose their money over our loyalty. If you'd trade our brotherhood for 50 grand. Bumpy paused, letting the weight of it settle. "Now I know." He stood up. Bumpy wasn't a giant, maybe 5'10", but in that moment he loomed like a titan. "You're leaving Harlem tonight. Pack your things, take your family, and go. I don't care where you land, but if I ever see your face, if I ever hear your name whispered on these streets again, there won't be a second chance. Do you understand me?" Sam nodded, broken, tears streaming down his face. "And Sam," Bumpy's voice dropped to a gravelly growl, "when the Italians ask you what happened here tonight, you tell them exactly what you saw. Tell them Bumpy Johnson was onto them from the jump. Tell them he never missed a beat. And tell them you can't put a price tag on loyalty in Harlem. And make sure they understand, if they ever try a stunt like this again, mercy is off the table." Sam, legs trembling like leaves, scraped up his useless piece and stumbled out of the lounge. He skipped town that very night, never to be seen in the Big Apple again. Rumor has it he ended up pouring concrete in Detroit, a hollow shell of a man, crushed under the heavy burden of his own treachery. Once the door clicked shut, Bumpy pivoted to address the crowd. 300 pairs of eyes locked onto him, the room dead silent. They had just seen the impossible happen right before their faces. They saw a hitman try to take the king out, only to watch Bumpy flip the script and turn an execution into a masterclass. "Let's get one thing straight," Bumpy's voice boomed, reaching the back walls. "The Italians think we have a price tag. They think they can tear us apart from the inside. They think Harlem is theirs for the taking just because we're struggling, because of the color of our skin, because they think we're nothing." He hoisted his snifter of cognac. "They are dead wrong. This neighborhood is not on the market. Never has been, never will be, and anybody foolish enough to think they can waltz in here and bribe my family is going to get the exact same education Big Sam just got. We don't need their protection. They need ours." He lifted the glass higher. "Here's to Harlem, and here's to the kind of loyalty money can't touch." 300 glasses shot up in unison. "To Harlem!" The jazz cats kicked the rhythm back up, and the hum of chatter filled the air once more. Minutes later, the vibe was chill, like the drama never went down. But everything had changed. The tale of that night tore through the New York streets faster than a lit fuse. Come sunup, every wise guy from Boston down to Baltimore knew the score. Bumpy Johnson had been sitting on that info for 3 whole weeks. He let the trap set itself. He forced a rat to show his true colors in front of 300 witnesses. And he did it all without shedding a single drop of blood. The 5 families were scrambling, calling a sit-down the very next day. Frank Costello was livid, not at Bumpy but at Tony for dropping the ball. Carlo Gambino, though, he saw the bigger picture. "We can't take this guy," Gambino murmured. "We threw the kitchen sink at him. Muscle failed, bribes failed, Turning his crew inside out failed. Every time we make a play, he's already read the script. Then what's the move? Costello barked. Gambino sparked up a cigar, taking a slow drag. We leave Harlem be. We stick to Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx. Harlem is Bumpy's kingdom. Trying to snatch it is just burning cash and bodies. It was unprecedented, the 5 families retreating from a turf war, but their hands were tied. That night at the Lenox Lounge, Bumpy proved he was far more than just a street thug. He was a grandmaster strategist, seeing 10 moves down the board before you even touched a pawn. You don't sit across from a player like that unless you're prepared to get checkmated. The tale of Big Sam's double cross became instant folklore uptown. Folks spun that yarn for decades, handing it down to children and grandchildren alike. It morphed into something bigger than a mere anecdote. It stood as a testament to loyalty, to being 3 steps ahead, and to the true face of power. The word traveled lightning fast through the criminal underground. By the next dawn, the entire East Coast mob scene knew the deal. The 5 families convened in panic. That's when Carlo Gambino dropped a truth bomb that stunned the room. Hands off Harlem. The man is unbeatable. For the first time in history, the Italian mob waved the white flag without firing a single round. The godfather of Harlem reigned for another 10 years. He passed in 1968, not by the gun, but by a failing heart. Ironically enough, he took his last breath right there in the Lenox Lounge, the very spot he stared down. Big Sam. But listen closely. Bumpy demonstrated a truth most folks overlook. The deadliest weapon isn't a pistol. It's having the foresight to know the future before your enemy makes a move. It's about flipping their scheme into your triumph. Playing 4D chess while they're fumbling with checkers. Big Sam grabbed $50,000 from the mob. He skipped town with nothing but a pocket full of shame. Bumpy? He strolled back to his booth, downed his cognac, and continued his reign as the king of Harlem. Yo, if this story got your blood pumping, do me a solid. Smash that like button right now. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you even doing? We're rolling out these Bumpy legends daily, and believe me, the next chapter is wild. Sound off in the comments. Do you think Bumpy should have played it differently? Would you have let a snitch like Sam breathe another day? And make sure those notifications are on lock. Next week, we're covering the time Bumpy walked into Lucky Luciano's office with no heat and walked out with the deal of a lifetime. You do not want to sleep on that. Never forget, in Harlem, respect isn't a gift, it's a paycheck you earn, and Bumpy Johnson earned every single cent.